get three. You all want to get three S's and just pass the A levels, then don't do the A levels. If you are sitting for A levels, okay, if you're now starting A levels, do it with the intention that you will get three A's, okay? Do it with the intention that you get three A's. That's how I start. So if you have that intention, no matter what other problems come, okay, no matter what other problems come, you can easily navigate through that. You will navigate through the 3 years, okay? 3 years, it's not easy, trust me, okay? It's not easy, but if you have the goal, okay, if you have the goal and if you are consistent, I think, and you have guidance, and then you can succeed, okay? Biology, I would say, no need to take it like stressful, but of course, you have to memorize. You have to have your resource book with you, and you have to go through images in Google. Okay. So, and of course, I'll give the images during the explanation. I'll draw the images and explain. You have to have the resource book. Okay. What I do in the class is I will explain. I will put the theory in your head. I'll put the theory. You have to understand the theory and then memorize. Okay. That's what you have to do. Once now there are 10 lessons for you. Okay. There are 10 lessons. The first one is Introduction to Biology, which we will complete today. Okay. Introduction to Biology. The second one is Chemical and Cellular Basis of Life. Chemical and Cellular Basis of Life. Third one about evolution, which we are not going to talk that deeply, but for now, just keep it in your mind. Fourth one is plants. Okay. I am not giving the full topic, just the half of the topic. Okay. Fifth one is Animal Form and Function. Animal Form and Function Part 1. Sixth one is Animal Form and Function. Sorry. 5, there are two parts, okay? Part 1 and Part 2. Carefully listen, okay? Part 1 and Part 2. Sixth one is Genetics. Genetics. Seventh one is Molecular Biology. Molecular Biology. Eighth one is Environment. Okay? Environment. 9, Microbiology. I don't have enough space now. Microbiology. 10th one is 10th one is Applied Biology. So for your grade 12 lesson, you have to go through only these lessons. Until animal form and function part 1. Okay? Until animal form and function part 1. So today I'll be covering this by next year February. I'll be covering until grade 12. Okay? So yeah, let's start with the first lesson. Okay? You can talk, students. It's fine. No one's there. You can talk. Okay? If you can't understand anything or if you want to know something, you can talk. Let's start with the first lesson. Okay. So what I am going to do is at the end of each lesson, at the end of each lesson, yeah, I will give you MCQ points. Okay, MCQ points. So what for my MCQs in A levels, I had 47 out of 50. Okay, 47 out of 50. So if you have above 40, if you have above 40, for you an A is guaranteed. Okay, an A is guaranteed if you did your essays well. If you do your MCQs, you will do your essays well. That's a different thing, but you have to score above 40. Above 40. So at the end of each lesson, I will give you MCQ points. Okay, MCQ points that you have to memorize. Okay, let's start with the lesson. Okay, students. Uh, Now this is something new, right? It's related to your O levels, but it's like mostly different. Okay, not different. That means the concept is deep. Okay, the concept is deep, deep. So don't take it stressful, but try to understand or learn it in a way like you're listening to a story. Okay, like a story. So first lesson, introduction to marriage. Okay, introduction to biology. So this is your resource book. Okay, you have to take a hard copy. Okay, you have to take a hard copy. This is my resource book. This is how I studied. Okay, that means the whole resource book has to be there in your head. Okay, the whole resource book has to be there in your head. That's how hard work is. Okay, you have to work hard. So there are in this book. Okay, for grade 12 there are 5 lessons until animal form and function part 1. But the first unit which I'm going to teach today will not impact your exam greatly. Okay, the first unit have the amount of questions that will come to your exam from the first unit is around 0.5%. Okay, so I'll give only the important part. I'll give you only the important part and explain the whole lesson. Okay, and I'll tell what to study and what not to study. Okay, let's start with the lesson. So after I teach this lesson, okay, it's done. First one is done. Then you have to study then and there. Okay. Now if I taught you today this one, you have to study this one at your home. Okay, by your own. Okay, let's start with the lesson. Introduction to biology. So in O level science, you had everything together, right? Everything together. Physics, chemistry, biology. You don't have a clear idea what biology, what chemistry, what physics is. But now when you come to A level, separated. Okay. It's like we consider like the whole 9 subjects is equal to one subject. So put your effort. Okay. We'll go through this. Okay. Biology means biology means studying of living organisms. Of living organisms. So no need to write now itself. If you want, you can take a rough note. I will give you the note, okay, later after the explanation. So for now, just get the note, okay? So just write your rough note. Biology means studying of organisms, okay? Living organisms. So how many living organisms are there? Like majority, like you can't imagine. Trees are also living organisms. Human being living organisms. Under human being, there are subtopics also. So for easiness, we divide this into 3 subtopics, okay? We divide this into 3 subtopics. We divide biology, the way of studying biology into 3 topics. We divide it into three topics. Okay. The first topic is zoology. Okay. Zoology. I hope you have the resource book with you. If you don't have, I'll share the PDF. I'll share the PDF. Students, do you have the resource book with you? Do you want me to share it with you? The PDF or at least the book? You can message it. Fine. Students, do you have the resource book with you? Oh, it's fine. I'll send the resource book later. Was the camera is on? Okay. Okay. Biology, we divide it into 3 topics, subtopics, to easy to make it easy to study. Okay. First topic is zoology. Zoology means studying of animals. Studying of animals. Second topic is botany. Okay, botany. Botany means studying of plants. Okay, studying of plants. So if you are thinking that online class is not, I mean, it's hard to concentrate, you find it hard to concentrate from the beginning of A levels to end of A levels. Okay, until the end, I did online class. Okay, so when I'm in the online class, while I'm sitting, I will sit with the intention that I will do it. I mean, I will concentrate during the online class properly. Okay, so it's up to you. If you concentrate, you can get the idea. If you get the idea, it's easy to read. If it is easy to read, it's easy to memorize and easy to score. Okay, so focus while I'm explaining. Okay, second topic is botany. Third topic is microbiology. Okay, yeah, microbiology. Microbiology means studying of organisms. So it's better if you take down this note. Okay, quickly take down this note like this. One second, not everything. Okay, okay. Now, now we to make it easy to study, we divide this into three subtopics. Okay. Now, these topics also are divided into seven subtopics. Okay, these three topics are divided into seven subtopics. Seven subtopics. Again, why? To make it easy to study. Okay, to make it easy to study. And it is this for now. Okay, the seven subtopics are, we divide that to make it easy to study. We divide it into seven. Okay, one, two, three, four, five, six, seven. Okay. The first subtopic is the first subtopic is mm, cell biology. Okay, cell biology. I hope you can see this corner. Yeah, cell biology. Cell biology means studying about cells. Okay. So what do you mean by studying about cells? Cell biology means studying about cells. Studying about cells means what are the things that are inside the cell and the function of different functions of the structures present inside the cell in the micro level. Okay, molecular level. Structures present inside the level and the functions performed by each of those different structures, which we will be learning in the second unit. Okay, cell biology means learning about cell, learning about cell, what's deep inside the cell, the structures and different functions. Okay, and the functions of each cell. The second subtopic is histology. Okay, histology. Write, write this down with me. Okay, the second subtopic is histology. Histology means, now let's take a tissue. Okay, let's take a muscle tissue, skeletal muscle tissue. Okay, We take the skeletal muscle tissue and observe it under microscope, and we get something like this. You have learned it in O levels. Okay, they are cylindrical in shape. Okay, what is histology means? Studying about tissues. Okay, studying about tissues. What do you mean by studying about tissues? Studying about tissues means we observe it under microscope. We observe the structures in the tissue. Okay, we observe the structures in the tissue, and then we learn the functions of each tissues. Okay, so basically, what do you mean by histology means studying about tissues, skeletal muscle tissue, epithelial tissue, like that. Okay, no need to make things deeply, just studying about tissues. Okay, okay. Right. I'll write it in my brain. Cell biology means studying of cells. Okay, of cells. Next topic is histology, studying of tissues. Okay, so this is just a subtopic. Later, when you will learn what they are. Okay. Next topic is anatomy. Okay, anatomy. Take the interest and study. Okay, anatomy. Okay, what do you mean by anatomy is in the resource book they have given studying about gross structure of the body. Okay, studying of the gross structure of the body. I hope because keep the resource book with you while I'm explaining and go through that one also. Anatomy means studying about gross structure of the body, which means we take the whole body. We take the whole body and we analyze the gross structure of the body. That means how the vessels or how they how the arteries are going in the body. That's what we are learning in the medical college deeply, but not there in deeply for all for now. Okay, how the arteries are going in the body. For example, how the aorta goes through the body, how the pulmonary arteries divides in the body, what it enters, what which structure it enters. So basically, that's what we study in anatomy. Okay, studying of the gross structure of the human body. So I hope you all know the terms aorta and arteries. Okay, pulmonary arteries, those things. Okay, so the next topic is subtopic physiology. The most interesting subject to learn. Okay, physiology. So in physiology, we learn the functions of the body. Okay. For example, let's say now you know the term homeostasis, right? Homeostasis, how the human body reacts to the changes in the environment. Okay. That's an example for histology. That means, sorry, physiology. Physiology means studying of the functions. Okay, function, which means like under the cold climate, how the human body reacts to survive. Okay, how the human body reacts to survive under the cold climate. So that's what studying of physiology means. Like we study the functions, how the human body functions. Okay, studying of functions, studying of functions. Next one is biochemistry. Okay, biochemistry. Okay, biochemistry means studying of biological molecules. Okay, studying of biological molecules. I'll explain what it is. So you can write this down with me. Okay, so during the first 2 years in A level, sorry, in medical faculty, you will be learning these three subjects in detail, okay? In detail. So, what do you mean by biochemistry? In the research book, they are giving studying of biological molecules. Now, what do you mean by studying of biological molecules? Okay, physiology is studying of function. That means how the body functions, how the body digests itself inside the stomach, those are theory. Anatomy means gross structure. What do you mean by biochemistry? Bio means biological, chemistry means chemical. Okay. So what does biochemistry mean? How the biological molecules, okay, how the chemical molecules. For example, let's take a medicine. A medicine, okay. Biochemistry, let's take a medicine. How that medicine goes into your body, and how that medicine functions. Okay. How that medicine affects the functions of the body. Okay. That's what we study in biochemistry. Simple. Okay. How a medicine or how molecules react with cells in the body and change the function of the body. Okay, how chemicals change the biochemicals change the function of the body. Okay? How biochemicals change the function of the body, or something like that. That's an example. Okay, studying of biological molecules. That's an example for biochemistry. Genetics. Okay, I know that you know genetics mostly because in O levels they do genetics. Yeah, genetics means studying inheritance. Studying inheritance. Genetics is the sixth lesson of your A-level biology syllabus. In genetics, we study now genes mean. Now let's take what do you mean by a gene? Okay, what do you mean by a gene? A gene means a sequence of DNA. Now you have learned DNA. Okay, DNA in O levels. I hope you have learned DNA in O levels. DNA. There are millions of DNA in your body. Okay, among that millions, there are small functional units. There are small functional units. The rest of the DNA doesn't have any functions, okay, that you will learn in sixth lesson. But for now, just get an idea. What is gene? Okay, it's good for you to learn now. Gene means a sequence of DNA, a sequence of DNA, which determines the behavioral, functional, and morphological characteristics of a human body. Okay, of a human. Which determines, later I'll give the note for that one. For now, just understand simple genes. The gene regulates the way you look, the way you behave, and the way your body functions. For example, how do you contract cancer? By genetics, okay? Mostly by genetics. So that's what happens, okay? Gene determines certain things of the body, which I will explain it later. But for now, understand gene will determine majority of your body things. Okay, just remember that one. It's a DNA, functional DNA sequence. Next, we will study ecology, the most hateful thing in A levels. Ecology. Ecology means studying of environment. Studying of environment. So, studying of environment, there is only one unit for you all. It's the eighth unit, the most boring lesson, the most what you feel like it's not useful for you, yeah, but good to learn it. It's good to understand. It's good to memorize those parts. I'll explain it later in the eighth unit come. But yeah, ecology means studying of environment. That's it. Okay. These are the subtopics that we are going to discuss. Seven in future. Okay. Future. Now it's introduction to biology. So I just explain it briefly. Okay. So you can write it down. There are seven. Yeah, there are seven topics. You can write it down in brief. Okay. Students, quickly write this down. We move to the next topic. Okay. Okay. Students, you can take a screenshot. Okay. Anyways, we are recording the meeting also. We can send it in later. We'll go to the next one. Okay. So introduction to biology, no need to worry. Okay. This is like just to give you an idea about biology. It's not for your exams, but certain things are there, like definitions and points. I will give it to you while explaining. Those will come for the structured essay and MCQs. Oh, I didn't explain how the paper is arranged, right? It's not like O levels. Okay. Now let's take a biology paper. Okay, biology paper. There are 50 MCQs. 50 MCQs. And 4 SCQs, which is termed as structured essay question, and 6 essay questions. Okay. 6 essay questions. Now 50, all the 50 MCQs you have to try. Okay, just like O levels, all the 50 MCQs you have to attempt. What's the advantage of scoring more in MCQs? බලන්න paper එකකින් භාගයක්, that means 50%. You have 50% score in MCQs. So that's why I'm always telling target the MCQs. Whenever I explain something, get the idea. Okay, get the idea so that in MCQs you just can underline. Okay, get the idea. For SCQs you have to attempt all 4 SCQs, all 50 MCQs. In essays, in essays you have to attempt only 4 essays. Okay, only 4 essays. To get above 40 MCQs and to attempt all 4 SCQs in order to get an A, because we do A levels to get an A, not to get an F. Okay, we have to be thorough in all the 10 lessons. Okay, we have to be thorough. That means you have to read the resource books many times. Okay, you have to be thorough in the all 10 lessons. For essays, you have to write the, yeah, it's like a robot. Okay, that's the reality of this A level. Okay, that's the reality of A level. But after you get into the medical college, the whole study system is different. You study in a way to treat a patient, not to pass an exam. Okay, so in A levels, there is no choice to write essays. You have to write it in the same way as it is in the resource book. Okay, you have to like copy paste it. Okay, copy paste it. We'll practice essays later. That's a different story. For now, this is the paper structure. Okay, this is the paper structure. 15 figures, 4 figures, 6 essays. Okay, let's go to the back to the topic. Introduction to biology. Now, we study biology for some reason, right? We study biology for some reason. Okay, there are issues pertaining to biology, pertaining, which means issues in biology. Okay, issues in biology. So we study biology in order to find answers for these issues in biology. Okay, so the issues pertaining to biology, write that topic in your book. Under that, I'll give some subtopics. Okay, under that, I'll give some subtopics. Write the topic issues pertaining to biology. The first topic is understanding understanding biological diversity. Understanding biological diversity. Okay. What do you mean by understanding biological diversity? Understanding biological diversity means what? Just talk to yourself. This area means you have to talk to yourself. Imagine. Okay. And imagination is important when I'm explaining. Okay, understanding biological diversity. That means now biology means studying of living organisms, which includes plants and animals. Diversity means now let's say an example. If you take plants, there are many types of plants, right? Aerial plants, like different types of plants and different types of animals. Okay, reptiles, uh, apes, and so on. Okay, there are diversity. There's a diversity. So by studying biology, we make it easy to learn the different sectors by dividing it and learning about different things. Okay, learning separately about apes and reptiles, learning separately about this plant, learning separately about that plant species. So that's what helps us by learning biology. Okay, helps us to understand the biological diversity. You have write this down with me. Okay, these are the MCQ points for this topic. Life on Earth formed 3.8 billion years ago. Okay, 3.8 billion years ago. These are the MCQ points. Billion years ago. Okay, that's the first MCQ point in the I took it from the resource book. Okay, the second MCQ point is the first formed organism. Okay, the first. I'll explain it later. First, I'll write the points. Okay, the first formed organism. First formed organism is believed to be heterotrophic. I'll explain. First, I'll write the MCQ points. Heterotrophic, anaerobic, prokaryotes. Second MCQ point is from that subtopic. There are about 10 to 100 million different species in this world. Okay. Yeah, these are the MCQ points for this topic. So these MCQ points can come to your A levels. How I'm saying that these are MCQ points because I've done so many MCQ papers. So I know what they will ask from the first unit and what they won't ask from the first unit. Okay. So life on Earth formed 3.8 billion years ago. Just in brief, I'll explain. Life on Earth formed 3.8 billion years ago. That means in some way or not, in some way or another, organisms formed, right? Organisms formed in this world. That happened 3.8 billion years ago. And that formed organism is heterotrophic. That means they depend on others for food. Okay, they don't produce their own food. They don't produce their own food. Heterotrophic. Anaerobic. That means they don't need oxygen for their respiration. Anaerobic. Prokaryotes, which I will explain in the next unit. Okay, I think you might know the definition, but I'll explain it in the next unit because you might end up messing up the definitions. Okay, later. The first formed organism is heterotrophic anaerobic prokaryote, and there are estimated amount 10 to 100 million different species are there in this world for now. Okay, that's what we can understand. Sorry, 10 to 100 million different species, which means like right, like reptiles, apes, and those stuff. Okay, for this topic, take a screenshot quickly. I'll go to the next topic: issues pertaining to biology. Okay, take a screenshot. We'll send the recording also. Okay, let's go to the next topic. Understanding human body, human body and its functions. Understanding human body and its functions. So, I'm like issues pertaining to biology. So it's obvious, right? Understanding human body and functions. That's how medicine is studied. We observe the human body by what? Anatomy, physiology, biochemistry. Those are the basic things, and yeah, those are the basic basics, like the basement for studying of human biology. Understanding human body and its functions. Now we observe different structures of now understanding different understanding human body and its functions. What that means is we observe the human body, okay, and we look at the structures, different structures, for example, the heart, and how it reacts with different medicines, and what we can do to avoid diseases. Those are the things that we focus on this topic, okay? Understanding human body and its function. So under that one, there are no any MCQ points. Okay, there are no any MCQ points. Don't worry. I'm just explaining what it is. It's not there for your exam paper, okay? So don't take it seriously. Just get an idea what it is. Okay. The next topic is third topic: sustainable use and management. Sustainable use and management of natural resources and the environment. The sustainable use and management of natural resources and environment. Listen it to like a story, okay? Listen to it like a story. Now, if we take natural resources, it is limited, isn't it? Think to yourself, okay? It is limited, natural resources. For example, trees and water, those are natural resources, like those are limited, not unlimited. So we should act in a way, we should behave in a way that we can conserve those natural resources which are very valuable for us for existence, that in a way that it will pass to the next generation and ensure the survival of the next generation also. We shouldn't be like what? We shouldn't be selfish. Okay, we shouldn't be selfish. We should find out sustainable way use and manage the natural resources so that it is passed to the next generation so that they use it efficiently for their existence. Okay, so you have to know the definition of natural resources for A-level biology. Okay, so definition for natural resources is in the resource book they are given sources of material and energy, sources of material and energy found naturally, found naturally, which are used in everyday life and for economic development. Okay, this is the definition for natural resources. Is known as natural resources. So you have to know the definition. So for your A level. Okay, you have to now see you can memorize. Okay, it's not like O levels. Then and there you have to memorize and learn. Not like O levels. 2 months before exam, studying and 9 years. Okay, not like that. You have to study then and there. Sources of material and energy, which means sources of material means, for example, water. Energy means sunlight. Okay, for example, sources of material and energy found naturally, which are used in everyday life. So when you're memorizing a definition, break it into like three parts. Sources of material and energy found naturally, which are used in everyday life and for economic development. Three parts. That's how you learn biology. That's how you memorize the definitions, which they will directly ask in structured essay question. Give the definition for natural resources. If they ask like that, you have to write next one exactly like this. Sources of material and energy, which are found naturally for everyday life and for economic development. That's okay. Take a screenshot of this. If you wrote it with me, then it's good. If you didn't write, take a screenshot and write it down. Don't worry, students. There is not much in this first minute, so I'm going brief. Okay. This is the definition for natural resource. Okay. So these natural resources are limited, right? So what will happen if we overexploit, overuse, and waste the natural resources? We will have to face some problems. Okay, we will have to face some problems. So there are three problems that we will face if we overexploit the natural resources. Three problems. What are the three problems? In resource book they are given environmental pollution. Environmental pollution. Second one, loss of biodiversity. Third one is desertification. Loss of biodiversity and desertification. So these are the three issues that we will face if we overexploit the natural resources. Or if we waste, yeah, like environmental pollution is like if you throw dirt into natural water resources, and loss of biodiversity means uh, there are some rare species, like there are some species that are about to extinct, that will extinct if we give them the stress. That means if we, there are some tree types in our country also that people cut it down and they take it for businesses, but that's a rare species type which will extinct if we continuously like cut and take those things, okay, take those trees. So that's what they are meaning by loss of biodiversity. We will lose that species type. We will lose the biodiversity. Okay. Desertification you will learn in environmental biology. No need to stress. You have to remember if they ask what happens or give two issues. Most probably they will ask two, but you have to memorize three. Give me two issues. Give two issues that happen when we overexploit the natural resources. You have to write two of these. Okay. Take a screenshot. Let's go to the next one. Okay. I'll be uploading the resource book for the WhatsApp group later. Okay, to the next topic. It's the fourth one. Sustainable, sustainable food production. Food production. Okay, sustainable food production. Now, it is expected that the human population, around 8 billion, right, it will double. It's expected to double before the next 40 years. Okay, within the next 40 years, it is expected to double. So we should find ways. We should find technological ways or new ways that to produce food efficiently. Okay. Now the human population is increased. Okay. The human now this is what I'm going to explain. The human population is increased. Okay. What happens when the human population increase? Settlements increase. That means they occupy space. That means we destroy most of the natural resources like trees, crops, and those stuff. Then we occupy spaces to live. When the population increase, okay, when the population increase, the amount of food that can be produced from natural resources will decrease, right? Because, for example, let's say there's a field of 10 meters, 10 meters area, okay, 10 meters into 10 meters. Now the human population increase, right? The human population increase. So they occupy part of the field, okay? They occupy part of field where the food is produced, okay? Paddy field. So when the population increases, space, the space that is there to produce the food decrease, right? Now it's like this, okay? When the population increase, the space that is there to produce the food decrease because humans take those space for their settlement. So we should find ways, efficient ways that will that will produce more food, that will produce more food in a small area. Okay, that for example greenhouse. Okay, this one inside small huts we plant crops. Okay, you learn it in environmental biology. Okay? You learn it in environmental biology. So in a small area, when the population increase, area for to produce food decrease. So we should produce food efficiently. Now this is a field. This is a small area we have to produce food. So we use that small area to produce more food than before in an efficient way. And there are new ways. Okay, there are new ways to produce more food. So the three methods they are given in resource book is number one. Write it down with me. Write it down. Production of high yielding. I'll explain what it is. Production of high yielding plants and animals. Number two, production of disease resistant plants and animals. Number three, improve the post-harvest technological method. Okay, improving the post-harvest technological method. Write these 3 points. I will explain what it is. I'll take a screenshot with you. Then I'll explain one. So sustainable food production. Production of high yielding plants and animals. For example, let's take one mango tree. That mango tree produces 5 mangoes per week, okay? And we take another mango tree which is genetically modified, which you will learn in molecular biology. We'll learn in molecular biology. Those are the methods that we use for sustainable food production. We will learn it later, okay? We use a method that will increase the crop production, sorry, the production of high yielding. That increase the yield, okay? Increase the end product. That means from one tree we get 5 mangoes per week. We use some methods and we apply that method for that tree so that it gives around 10 mangoes per week, okay? 10 mangoes per week. So that's what is meant by production of high yielding plants and animals. And let's say like yeah, high yielding plants and animals. You will learn it deeply in the next upcoming lessons. Just for now, has a brief idea. Production of disease resistant plants and animals. So again, if we take two trees, okay, we take two trees and those trees will be, how do you say, those trees will be damaged or those trees will be affected by some insect type, okay, or the crops like rice, the crops, those crops will be damaged by some insects, okay. We use chemicals. We use chemicals that will protect the crops, okay, that will protect the crops and give increase the yield, okay, increase the yield. That's what we call sustainable food production. Increase the food production. So there are two crops. One crop is susceptible to damage. Both the crops are susceptible to get damaged by insects. So I apply the necessary things for one crop and not for the other crop. Okay. What happens is the first crop will die. Okay, because we didn't apply anything for that crop. So the second crop will survive because I applied the chemicals, or how do you say? Because I use the method. Okay, for sustainable food production. Okay, so that's how you increase the food production. Okay, production of disease resistant. Okay, first we want a high yielding plants and animals, and at the same time disease resistant plants and animals. Okay, it's logic, right? Like if it is resistant for diseases, it will survive longer, so we can produce more food. Okay, that's what is meant by this one. Improve post harvest technological method. What does that mean? Improve post harvest technological method. Now you take like 10 apples and from how you harvested 10 apples and you transport it to the shop. While transporting, the apples will be damaged, the boxes that carry the apple will be damaged, the apple will be uh, spoiled because of heat. So we use some techniques like using good wooden boxes, using a good temperature, cool temperature that will protect those apples to that will minimize the loss damage of the harvest. That will minimize the damage of the harvest is what is called as improve the post-harvest technological methods. That is what is meant by post-harvest post-harvest technological method. Okay, we'll go to the next topic. Take a screenshot of this. Okay, let's go ahead. For the next few topics, there is nothing to write, so I'll explain only what it is. 1, 2, 3, 4. Fifth topic, understanding plant life. So, issues pertaining to biology, understanding plant life. Now, in A level, O levels, you learn that plants are the primary producer. That means we obtain energy, other animals obtain energy directly or indirectly from plants. Okay? Directly or indirectly from plants. So plants are the primary source of energy. So it's important to learn about plants also. Okay, that's what there is a separate lesson for plant biology. Understanding plant life. Plant is the primary producer. So directly or indirectly we depend on their energy. So it's important to learn about plants. Okay. Then the next topic, sixth one, understanding diseases and causes. Diseases and causes. So let's take an example for diseases. mm, Diabetes. I hope you'll understand, but I won't explain it deeply. Diabetes, okay? So it's important to know what will cause diabetes, okay? What will cause diabetes and to find medicines for that, okay? If we know the cause, we can find the medicine. So it's important to learn biology to understand the diseases and causes. Just simple, okay? Nothing important in there. Then solving some legal and ethical issues. So, yeah, solving some legal and ethical issues. So in biology, you will learn paternity testing. So to decide who is the father and to find out thieves to tracing the fingerprints. Those are all related to biology. So by studying biology, you can solve some legal and ethical issues. That's what they are trying to mean by issues pertaining to biology. Why we are learning biology? For what? Okay, there are seven subtopics. I wrote four, and these are the rest three. Okay, so you write it down. Take a screen. We'll move on to the next one. Okay, let's move on to the next topic. Okay, next, what we are going to learn about this introduction to biology is the nature and organizational patterns of the living world. Okay, the nature and organizational patterns of the living world. Under this topic, now we have to know how things are organized in this nature. Right? Now, biology it is huge. Okay, it is huge. So we organize things in order to make it easy to learn. So there is something called hierarchy, hierarchical, hierarchical, hierarchical levels of organization. Hierarchical levels of organization. You have to write this down with me. Okay. Hierarchical levels of organization. First, there are molecules. Okay. First, there are molecules. First, there are molecules. Those molecules accumulate and form different structures, which I will be explaining in the next lesson. Okay, they form some structures, and those structures get together and form one cell. Okay, molecules. Then, though we call those structures as organelles. Okay, maybe you have learned in O levels mitochondria, chloroplast. Okay, molecules get together to form organelles. Okay, which I told a structure inside the cell. And those organelles together form a cell. Those organelles together form a cell. Cells, cells together form tissues. Okay, tissues. For example, cardiac muscle cell or skeletal muscle cell is one cell. Okay, one cell. That cell get together to form a tissue, which we call the whole skeletal muscle tissue in the body. Okay, whole skeletal muscle tissue. Then tissues accumulate to form organs. Okay, organs. For example, cardiac muscle cells. I think you have learned in all cardiac, the heart. There are small, small cells. Those cells get together to form the tissue. That tissue get together with other tissues and form one whole organ. Okay, tissues with another tissue and other parts, other tissues together form an organ. Okay, multiple organs form an organism. Okay, okay. Multiple organs, for example, in human body. Sorry, organ system. Organs get together to form an organ system. Organ system. So what is meant by organ system? Let's take uh, circulatory system. Circulatory system means circulation of the blood, right? If we say circulation of the system, there are many organs, right? There are many organs related to circulation. So those organs get together and form an organ system, which is the respiratory system or skeletal muscle system or sorry, circulatory system, but so on. Okay, organ systems form an organism. 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 Multiple organisms get together and form a population. Population. I I know that you know this part in no level. Population. Next, community. Community. Ecosystem. Biosphere. You have to know. You have to memorize this part. Okay. Biosphere. Biosphere means the whole world. Ecosystem means a uh, part of the world. Okay. You have to know this whole part. You have to memorize. Okay. You have to memorize. Ecosystem biosphere. It goes like this. Molecules, organelles, cell tissue, organ system, organism, population, community, ecosystem, biosphere. Okay, take a screenshot. Okay, student, take a screenshot. Okay, the last part. Okay, last part. Now that the skill is done, last part, you have to go through the resource book after class, memorize the things that I told you to memorize, and understand. Yeah, understand. And I will be sending questions for which you can answer looking at the resource book and memorize those answers later. Okay, so let's go to the next one. Last part. Okay. So I told you that organisms are diverse, right? Organisms are diverse. We separate, like how you say. Now we separate the organisms. So the organisms become diverse. We focus on four things. Okay. We focus on four reasons. Four reasons. Okay. We focus on four reasons to separate the organisms. Okay. Separate the organisms. The first one is size. Size. Okay. Organisms are diverse because of size. Let's say microorganisms, bacteria. Bacteria has different sizes. Virus have different sizes, and we are in a different size compared to them. So from size, among size wise, there is a diversity, right? Among size wise also there is a diversity. Okay. Then shape. This one, for example, microorganisms, microorganisms, and human beings. Okay. Human beings. Size. Size-wise, we can diverse the organisms. Shape-wise, how can we diverse the organisms? For example, like worms. Okay, worms are cylindrical in shape. Cylindrical. Example, worms. Okay, then streamline shape. You can remind yourself of your O-level knowledge. Streamline shape. Streamline shape. We have birds. Birds. Okay. Shape-wise also there is a diversity now. Then form-wise. Okay. Form. Unicellular, unicellular or multicellular. Okay, form wise also there is a diversity in known. Unicellular, multicellular. You know that from your O-level knowledge. Okay. Then habitat. Habitat. For example, what do you mean by habitat means like pigs live in mud. Human beings can't live in mud, right? So there's a diversity in habitats also. Okay. So that's what is meant by habitat. Okay. There's a diversity in among these four things. Okay. Just remember some examples for these things. Remember some examples. Terrestrial. Write this down and yeah, remember at least yeah two examples for each subtopic. Okay, each point. Habitat, terrestrial, aquatic. Okay? Take a screenshot of this one and let's move on to the last topic of the first lesson. Okay, let's move on to the last topic. Yeah. So the last topic is about characteristics of organisms. Okay, characteristics of organisms. This is an important part. I told you that questionnaire is not important, but sometimes in essay this can come up with characteristics of organisms. So just get an idea, and I'll send an essay topic. Practice for that essay topic now itself, which means memorize the whole part under that topic and write it down while not looking at the book. So characteristics of organisms. Okay. So there are some characteristics for organisms which will help them to survive. Right? Now, what I'm trying to say is organisms, unicellular or multicellular, simple or complex, microorganisms or human beings or plants, everyone have some characteristics, have some characteristics which differentiate living from non-living. Okay, those characteristics differentiate the living from non-living. So I am going to give how much? So seven characteristics which will differentiate the living from non-living. What I'm trying to say is a living, which means unicellular, which means a simple cell or a multicellular organism will show all the characteristics that I'm going to write here. They will show, carefully listen, they will show all the characteristics, all the seven characteristics at once, okay? At once, they will show even the single cell. They'll show all the characteristics at once so that it differentiates the living from the non-living. Okay, it will differentiate the living from the non-living. So the first characteristic we are going to discuss is order and organization. Order and organization. I am giving you the idea and a brief description of the subtopic, which is not enough for you to write an essay. So you have to memorize the part in the resource book to write the essay. Okay, order and organization. Order and organization. So what is meant by order and organization is, now let's say coconut trees, okay, coconut trees and mango trees, coconut trees and mango trees. The way, the order of the way the leaves are arranged is different from those two, right? It's important that there is an order and organization for everything. There's an order in which the human body is developed. There is an order in which a leaf, you can say a leaf, you will learn it in the unit 4. There's an order. There's an order in which the leaf is there. I mean, the organelles, I'll explain it later. Okay? There's an order for each and everything to make it easy to survive in the environment. Okay? From molecular level, I'll explain this. From molecular level, okay? From molecular level to biosphere, which I wrote at the beginning, the hierarchical level of organization of living things. From molecular level to biosphere, there is an order and organization. Sorry, there is an organization. Write this down with me. Okay, write this down with me. Order and organization to perform their biological activities efficiently. Okay. From molecular level to biosphere. Okay, from molecular level to biosphere, there is an order and organization in each and everything to make the function efficient. Okay, to make their function efficient. For example, we find coconut trees in dry areas, right? In areas where the sunlight is high. So the leaves of the coconut trees are arranged in a way that all the leaves receive sunlight. Right? So yeah, there's an order and organization of each and everything to make the biological activities efficient, to perform their biological activities efficient. Okay. Uh, The rest of the things you have to go through the resource book. I'm just giving the small definition and an example to put it in your head, and you have to go through the resource book later. Take a screenshot of this. Okay. No need to stress now. Okay, like this is the introduction of biology. That's why I'm going a little bit fast because I just want to give an idea what biology is. Okay? No need to stress yourself to memorize, but some parts are there you have to memorize. That's what I'm saying. Memorize those parts. So now just take it easy. Okay, simple thing. Later I'll explain in deep. Like second unit, I'll explain still deeply. Okay, this is just an overview. Okay, students, let's go to the next one. This is the last part. So okay, no need to take it be stressful. Okay, last part. Order and organization is done. I told there are seven, right? So one is done, six is left. Okay. The next thing is metabolism. Of course, you know it from your O levels. Metabolism. The definition of metabolism they have given in the source book is you have to memorize that one. They will ask the sum of all chemical all chemical activities all chemical activities taking place in an organism. Okay. So metabolism means the sum of chemical activities taking place in the living organism. For example for metabolism is digestion of carbohydrates, digestion of proteins, which we will learn in Unit 5, which means conversion of polysaccharides to monosaccharides. Okay, conversion of polysaccharides to disaccharides and then monosaccharides. Conversion of proteins to amino acids. Those are metabolism, right? So in O level you might have not learned, but in A level, metabolism is divided into two subtopics. Okay, metabolism is divided into two subtopics: anabolism and catabolism. Okay, careful listen: anabolism and catabolism. Metabolism is divided into two subtopics. There are two parts in metabolism: anabolism and catabolism. The definition is there in the resource later, but for now, just get an idea. Anabolism means anabolism means formation of complex molecules. Formation of complex molecules from simple molecules. Example: formation of polysaccharide from monosaccharide. Formation of proteins from amino acids. Okay, formation of proteins from amino acids. For anabolism. Catabolism means breaking down of complex molecules into simple molecules. Okay? breaking down of complex molecules into simple molecules. Example, breaking down of proteins into amino acids. Okay, I'll write it down. There are two parts, anabolism, catabolism. Okay, anabolism means complex molecules to simple molecules. Sorry. Anabolism means from simple molecules you form complex molecules. Okay, complex molecules. Catabolism means complex molecules are broken down into simple molecules. Okay, complex molecules are broken down into simple molecules. That's what is meant by catabolism. So I told you some examples, right? Keep that in mind. Later you will learn in second unit. Okay, take a screenshot of this. Okay, the next topic. You can take a screenshot quickly. Okay. The next characteristic that we will see in living organisms is growth and development. Third one. The next feature that we will see in living organisms is growth and development. So growth means irreversible increase in dry mass. You have learned it in O level. Irreversible increase in dry mass, which means let's say the brain, not the brain. Let's say a tissue. The number of cells increases in that tissue when we grow, right? So that's what we call growth. Irreversible increase in dry mass without water. Okay, dry mass. That means our hands grow, right? Our hands grow. That's why we call it irreversible increase in dry mass. But the definition of growth and definition of development is different. That's what you have to know in this A level. Okay, you have to differentiate growth and development, which you have not done in O levels. So that's why there are two different definitions for growth and development. I'll explain it again. Growth means irreversible increase in dry mass. Development means irreversible, both are irreversible, changes that occur during the lifespan of an organism. I wrote this definition without looking because I memorized this and I can still remember. Okay, so memorize in a way that you will remember forever. Growth and development. Growth means irreversible increase in dry matter. Development means irreversible changes that occur during the lifespan of an organism. What does that mean? Okay, growth means okay, our hand grows, our body grows, irreversible increase in of cells. Development is also like related to it, right? No. Development means like you learn to speak. You learn to speak. Would you be suddenly forget how to speak? You won't forget how to speak, right? Unless you met with an accident and paralyzed and so on. No, you won't forget how to speak once you learn it. That's the example for development. Irreversible changes that occur during the lifespan of an organism. Okay, so take down the, you can take a screenshot of this one also. The definition is important. Okay, I'm always saying what is important. Carefully listen and memorize those points. Take a screenshot. At the end, after giving these things, I will give some questions which you can answer later. Okay, I'll give some questions. Okay, students, take a screenshot quickly. We'll move to the next feature of organisms, living organisms. Okay, if you're thinking that going into medical faculty is impossible, take me as an example. I did bio, I did A-level from 2023 batch. Okay, I sat like you for the first class. Okay, for the first class, I sat like you with hope that I will pass the A-levels. Okay, I will pass in a way that I will make my parents proud. Okay, මේ A-level කරන්න ඒ තුනකට කරන්න. 3 years ගන්න. තුනකට කරන්න එපා නිකන් පාස් වෙන්න කරන්න එපා A-level. හරි. 3 years වලට තමයි A-level කරන්න ඕනේ. Okay, you have to do A-levels for 3 years. Do it in a way that will make your parents proud. So possible. Okay, it's possible. Hard work is necessary. Possible. So if you have the dream to become a go to medical college, if you have the dream, no matter what hardships come during your A-levels, you will go to medical college. Okay, and don't give up during the journey. We'll move on to the next feature. Next feature. Irritability and coordination. You might have learned a little bit about this in O-levels, right? Irritability. Yeah, you have learned in O-levels. Irritability, which is the fourth feature. Irritability and coordination. Okay. Irritability and coordination, these two are related. Okay, these two are related. Now let's say irritability. Okay, irritability means the definition they are given in the resource book. The ability to respond to a stimuli from internal or external environment. Okay, that's the irritability. Which means it's like this. Okay? There's a change in internal or external environment. That means you get a fever. Irritability means detecting whether you have the fever or not. The reset, I'll say, explain it later in animal zoning function. Simply, changes in external environment, for example, very cold climate. Irritability means your body finds out that you are in danger, you are in cold climate. That's what it meant by irritability. Coordination means coordination is the response for irritability. Now, irritability sense the changes, right? Irritability sense the change that your body function is going out of balance. For example, in cold climate, your the body detects. Okay, that's meant by irritability. Coordination means the coordinated efforts. That means hormonal system, let's say, mm, fight or flight, the best response. Yeah, I forgot this one. Fight or flight. Now you see a dog. Okay, you see a dog. Your eyes saw that. Okay, and your brain sensed it, which is meant by irritability. Your brain sensed. Okay, a danger. Coordination means now your brain sensed it and your sympathetic system, you have learned it in all levels, sympathetic system, fight or flight response is activated. Okay, so sympathetic system brings out a coordinated effort, hormonal, neural, all, okay, in order to save our life. Okay? That's what it means by coordination. A coordinated effort by, for example, like hormonal and neural, for example, hormonal and neural, to bring about changes in the body, okay, to bring about changes in the body. So that is meant by irritability and coordination. I'll write only the definition for irritability, okay. Irritability is the ability to respond to a stimuli from internal or external. Write this down or take a screenshot. Okay. There is no definition for coordination in the resource book, so no need to worry. Write it down. So you have the idea what is coordination is. Okay. Take take down the definition. So before I go to the next feature, go through the features, living organisms again, and get some idea. I give some time to go through that. Go through the previous points to that. So that it's not like it's not, it will be like feeling. Go through the previous points. Go through the points to that. If you have anything, you can ask, okay? Or you can drop me a message in WhatsApp. It's fine. I'll respond. Just take it interesting, study interestingly. And trust your teacher. Trust your teacher until the end that he will finish the syllabus. He will finish on time. And don't like, change classes in like many classes in between. You know, will fit. Yeah. So this is the beginning. Nothing actually. You just have to study what I'm teaching today. And that's it. Relax for the rest of the day. We have done whatever it's for, studied all whatever it's for so many months. Take some risk, it's fine. There is nothing much now. Yeah. Then and there study, okay? Then and there. We'll be doing papers later, not now. Then and there. Now, students, let's go to the next topic. Yeah. The next feature of living organisms they are given in resource book is adaptation, okay? This is, um, adaptation means, students, in resource book they are given, I'll write it down. Adaptation is peculiarity of structure, which means changing of structure, physiology, which means functions or behavior, okay, or behavior that promotes the likelihood of an organism's survival and reproduction in a particular environment. So adaptation means what happens is like changing of the structure or function or the behavioral pattern of your body. Okay? Like say how changes in functions. Let's take an example for yeah, again homeostasis, right? In a cold climate, in a cold climate, your body adapts for that cold climate, right? Your hair is erect, your hair is erect, and blood circulation, this is dilate. Your blood circulation in your body increase in order to maintain, in order to supply blood to organs efficiently. Okay, so those are adaptations, right? Adaptation. You're adapting yourself to survive in that environment. You have to remember the definition. Adaptation means peculiarity. Peculiarity means changes of structure, physiology, or behavior. Structure, physiology, or behavior that promotes the livelihood of an organism, livelihood of an organism, survival and reproduction in a particular environment. Okay, write down the definition. Take it slowly, write down the definition. They have given an example, sunken stomatine, xerophiles, viviparity, somnambules, played out protein camel. You might be confused what that means. Just remember one example, sunken stomatine, xerophiles, okay? I'm giving you some points to score in your exam, okay? If you learn everything, you will forget the important part. So learn only the important part. Remember only the sunken stomatine. Yeah, yeah, just have an idea what viviparity, no, viviparity of somnambules, played out protein camel. In this book, this is done, okay? You must have the resource with you by now. Or else I'll send it to WhatsApp. Write this down. Okay? Adaptation. It might be like boring, but don't worry. The first lesson is boring. Second lesson is interesting. So that's why I'm doing this question because fifth lesson is not that important. Okay, students, we go to the next point. Reproduction, okay, which is the sixth one. Reproduction. What is meant by reproduction? They are given ability to produce offspring, ability to produce offspring for continuous existence of species. For continuous existence of species. Okay. Yeah, reproduction. Living organisms show reproduction. I told you, right? A single cell will show all the characteristics that I'm giving now. Single cell, how can a single cell reproduce? Mitosis. You will learn it in next unit. Okay. I think you have a small idea from all of it. Single cell divides into two. That's for the reproduction, right? So yeah, living organisms have this feature also. Ability to produce offspring for continuous existence of species. Okay. For continuous existence of ability to produce offspring for continuous existence of species. Student, let's move on to the next part. Okay, that is about finish. Before finishing, I'll give you some questions. Okay, the last feature or characteristics of organism. The last characteristic of organism, I'm going to give an MCQ point. They will 70% chance to ask in your A levels. Okay, so I'll give an MCQ point now. So careful listen. Okay, careful listen. Okay, heredity and evolution. Heredity and evolution. Now they have given the definition for heredity. Okay, heredity means there are genes, right? Genes pass from one generation to another generation, from my father, mother to me. Okay, from one generation to another, next, and control specific physiological, which means functional, morphological, which means the way I look. Like I look like my mother, mostly. Okay, so genes, yeah, genes transfer from one generation to the next generation. Genes transfer from one generation to the next generation, and besides the morphological, morphological means the way I look, physiological and behavioral pattern, the way how I behave, I might behave. My mother, yeah. Behavioral characteristic of an organism. That's what it means by heredity. Okay? Heredity means passing down. Okay? Genes that are transferred from one generation to the next generation that, that determine the morphological, which means the way I look, physiological, and behavior. Physiological means functional, how my body functions. Like if my mother has diabetes, I might get diabetes in future. Like the way how my body functions and behavioral characteristics, okay? The way how I behave. So you have to write down the definition for heredity. Genes are transferred from one generation to the next and determine the morphological, physiological, and behavioral characteristics, okay, characteristics of an organism, okay, that is meant by heredity. So evolution means evolution. So evolution means like ability. The definition they have given is ability of organisms to change over time as a result of genetic modification. This is what evolution is. Carefully. So you can remember COVID-19, right? In COVID-19, some of us died, and some of us are still living. What happens is our genes are there, right? Our genes are there, right? Those genes modify within our body. Now the virus comes and attacks. The virus is in our body. Our body finds an antibody, which that person who died didn't find. Our body finds out an antibody. So genes is responsible for that, right? Genes produce antibodies. We will learn it later. Just for now, remember, evolution means the changes in the genetic material that ensures the survival of organism. Okay, I'll give the exact definition. Over time, they are given ability of organisms to change over time. Now, COVID-19 අද ඇවිල්ලා හෙට නැති වුණ නැහැ. අවුරුදු දෙකක් තුනක් තිබ්බා. 2 or 3 years it was there. So within that 2 or 3 years, what happened is genetic modification. So ability of organisms to change over time as a result of genetic modification is evolution. So we evolved. Okay, that's what I'm trying to. Ability of ability of organism to ability of organism to change over time as a result of genetic modification. Okay, write this down or take a screenshot if you want. The definitions are there in the resource book. Okay, and here's the question. This is the last part. And one MCQ one is there. There is one MCQ one is students. I'm again and again saying this lesson is not that deep, so I went a little bit fast, but from next lesson I'll go in a way that you will understand. Okay? From unit 2, we will study deeply about cells and chemical like carbohydrates, protein. Okay? Study in a way that study, just imagine yourself as you will become a doctor in 3 years, okay? 3 years time. Because variable is a huge syllabus, you will learn many. So study interestingly, okay? Interesting. If you have any question, we can drop a message in the okay? I hope you wrote it down or took a screenshot. Okay. So I gave you 7 key characteristics for living organisms, which means that living organism will show all of these characteristics at the same time during their lifetime. Okay. They show all these seven characteristics during their entire lifetime or during some part of their lifetime. Okay? Non-living things also show some characteristics of living things. Growth, crystals, you can say. Crystals grow, right? The example given in the resource, crystals grow. Water waves move. Okay, movement, water waves move. But living beings, only the living beings, a single cellular or a multicellular, some point in their life cycle or during their life cycle will show all these seven characteristics. Okay? So coordination, I told you, right, visibility and coordination. In that coordination is related to movement also. Okay? So then it's just movement. Coordination means movement. Like my hand is coordinated, like tendons are there, bones are there, skeletal muscles are there. All that together help me to move. That's what we meant by coordination. Coordination helps me to move. So that's the important point I wanted to say. Many non-living, many non-living entities. They are given entities. That means many non-living things will show some characteristics of living organisms. Now, if you want to write it down or get the idea, many non-living entities, many non-living entities will show some of the characteristics of living things, but not all. Okay, but not all. For example, crystals grow, waves move. Yes, students, that's it for the first lesson. Nothing big, you just read it, okay, through my explanation, try to understand. I hope you understood. If you didn't understand some part, you can drop a message, I'll explain that again. Okay, nothing big, I'll give the questions. For those questions, prepare, okay? That will come for some most, the rest of the things are nothing in question, okay? I'll give the questions, first clear your mind, and understand what you studied. I'll give the questions, okay? Questions, we are writing the answer. So, from the resource. Write down the questions with me. Write down the questions with me. Let's first clear your mind. Okay, students, write down the questions with me. Okay, write down the questions with me. First question is, how many years, how many years ago did life on Earth, life on Earth form? First question. Second question. Write down the first question. How many years ago did the life on Earth form? The answer is in the resource book. Go through that. Second question is, what are the features? What are the features of the first living organism? There are three. We have to write down three. And I'm going to say what we have to find. First living organism. Okay. Number three. Number three. You have write the answers to the questions later, but now. Mm, oh, what is meant by natural resources? What is meant by natural resources? Okay. Number four, three environmental problems that arise due to due to overexploitation over or of natural resources. Okay. Number four. So number five. What is meant by sustainable food production? Sustainable food production. What is meant by sustainable food production? Okay. You have to write the answers and remember, okay, memorize, because these are the important things that will compare exam. What is meant by sustainable food production? Number six, three methods that can be applied for sustainable food production. For sustainable food production. Okay. Yeah, so try these questions, then I'll get the next round. Five questions, five more questions. Let's quickly write this down or take a screenshot. Take a screenshot. Okay, students, and take a screenshot quickly. I'll write the next few questions. Okay. Question number seven. What is meant by what is meant by what is meant by order and organization? I'll upload the answers. I'll upload the answers in WhatsApp. Okay. What is meant by order and organization? So again, question number eight. What is meant by metabolism? Okay. Question number nine. What is meant by growth? Question number 10. What is meant by development? Okay. What is meant by development? Question number 11. What is meant by irritability? Irritability. Now question number 12. What is meant by, okay, these are what is meant by, which I'm writing, reproduction. Sorry, adaptation. Adaptation, then reproduction, then heredity, then evolution. Okay, write this down, student. I need the answers for this one. You write it down as in the answers. Okay, take a screenshot. 13, 14, 15. What is meant by, what is meant by, what is meant by. You write the definition, the resource. Take a screenshot, student. Students, these are the questions. 15 questions are there. Write the answers. I will not check because it's the first unit. I'll send the answers before that one. Okay. So I did it little bit quickly because this lesson is not that important. And only the definition we have to memorize and understand. Understand and memorize the definition. Okay. And yeah, starting from next unit, it's very important. That's why. Okay. So trust me, from unit 2 to unit 10 only is important. Unit 10 is also not that important. Unit 2 to unit 9. Okay. Next unit is very important. Like I'll explain details. Okay, details about the cells and carbohydrates, chemical compounds. Okay, those stuff. Yes, students, you can do. Okay, you can try. You can get into the medical college. Work hard. Use this resource book. Okay, this resource book. Highlight using highlighters. Read. I read this resource only. This resource book only for like more than 10 times. Around 10 times I read this resource book. Okay, that's what hard work is. You have to work hard. Okay? Today this present unit is finished. Right? You are, I think you have understood what I told because I can't talk to you. If you're here, I can now understand it. Okay? The recordings there, watch again if you didn't understand. Understand, memorize the definition. Okay? Okay. Okay, students, then thank you for joining. We will meet in the next session.